There we go.
Now, let's see, where are we?
Disappearing, but
Okay, that's okay, we've got it. I'm getting it. Woo-wee. If I can mess it up, I will. And what I need to do is to get to yours. Okay, files.
I am showing there.
There, no, I just took a picture of it.
Michael tells us.
Oh dear, wrong one.
Well, there was a ceremony
Okay,
weeks ago.
Philippines.
In the Philippines.
Sunrise.
We have some lovely
Thailand.
pictures.
No, that's Thailand PowerPoint. That's the one we're looking for. No,
That's Michael Phelps.
that's Michael Phelps. I thought
The
I
third
tried.
one down says Philippines.
That's the one I want. That's the one I put in.
Already right. Now you got a slideshow.
Actually, and from the beginning. Okay, now we got it.
All right. Next slide, please. Now, August 12th, this wonderful ceremony went down. The gentleman on the stage right is medical director of Zamboanga City Medical Center. That's a big regional hospital, and it's his leadership that has this project expanding. There was a ceremony where they turned over a batch of equipment to a whole slew of new locations. Going to be at 20 locations around the region to enable them to connect to that major hospital in order to treat more patients locally rather than having them just sent to Zamboanga City Medical Center when the doctor at a clinic doesn't understand what to do exactly. They've got a resource now they didn't have before. And one of the people at the ceremony, they said to come in by boat from one of the nearby islands, right up our trip. That's the way on that. So next slide. This group down there are the recipients that were at the ceremony, and the stuff, some of the stuff is on the right. It's just they had a group. It was held in the lobby at the medical center. Next slide. This is the program on the right. And the people in the white coats, those are doctors that are on the staff of Zamboanga City Medical Center. They conducted this. Go ahead, next slide. So where is Zamboanga City? Yeah, that's where that star is, but you can see there's green marks spread around showing the locations of the sites that came to collect some equipment during this handover. This is one example. So each partner hospital got a monitor and some other equipment to enable patient communications with the remote doctor. And by participating in telemedicine, there's a call center they can connect to. So next slide. And this is the Rotarian. So it's a global grant, and that means Rotary Club sponsored the grant that's located near the hospital. So all these guys showed up in force, wearing matching shirts, no less. Jerry gave us matching shirts, but we don't all wear them so far, but we'll come up with something. Next slide. Let's give you an idea of the range of organizations that get involved in a global grant. There's 6 different Rotary districts contributed to this grant. There were Rotary clubs in South Korea and elsewhere, and other districts in the Philippines as well as the U.S. On the left, it shows a pilot project, how it got started with just one location connected to this district hospital. So we had Hawaii in on that, Global Offsite Care contributed, and Rotary Club of Calgary, Canada was involved with that. That's how this thing got going. They were use the pilot project to discover whether they really wanted to expand. It's a lot of coordination to get everybody chipping in. Next slide. So there's a phase 2 of this handover ceremony, but not all the sites were able to make this thing on August 12th. So on September 30th now, there's another handover ceremony. Brian Moore thinks he might attend, but so far we don't know for sure whether we'll have anybody physically there represented by Zoom again, for sure. And that will equip the rest of the sites that weren't in attendance this first time around. So even more coordination involved with that one. That's it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Michael. That was great. Appreciate it. Or not. Oh, I gotta hide this video. Yeah.
Green like a cat. One more, a little more, a little more.
You can still see it. Does that work together?
Is that better?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I need to get, I went from the beginning. We'll get there. Okay, now we have a little thing from Sardinia for our, it's a big thing actually, for our, I'll stop that for a moment and let Michael Phillips tell us what we're looking at. This is for our main event, lobster boil.
So for our lobster dinner, we have one really, well, we probably have more than one, but a special auction item, which is a 2-bedroom home close to the ocean in Sardinia, off the coast of Italy. And this is a home that belongs to a very good friend of mine, longtime friend, and where one couple, local couple here in Sebastopol stayed last September and loved it, and they took this small video. So this is for a week at this home. And the main attraction is the area that it's in. The home itself is nice, but it's not a fabulous mansion or anything like that. But it is a wonderful location. So let's see that.
Wow, that looks like a great vacation.
Yeah, you just have to get past the rocks. Good.
Oops, sorry. There we go, we're moving on. The Sebastopol Service and Action Coalition, we're having this Saturday from 12 to 2, get together over at Ives Park of our different clubs. Let me know if you're going to be going. It's a bring your own picnic kind of thing, but it's to get to know people from the other service clubs around here and I think it ought to be a lot of fun. Thanks. And we have September 17th, the Rotary Club of Rancho Cotati. I'm going to move on through these. We have more things to do. And our Ukrainian family fun concert from 2 to 4. That is something else on the 24th. That looks like a lot of fun too. Now, do I have any announcements?
Just a reminder of the joint Rotary picnic on the 17th of September at Bob Hirsch's house. Diane has a flyer. We'll send it out.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, we've got quite a list coming up here. 10 o'clock, again, our meet and greet picnic at Ives Park on the 10th from 12 to noon. 12 noon, to 2. And then September 12th, the International Committee meeting is going to be via Zoom at 5:30 p.m. The September 17th is the Ukraine Refugee Relief Fundraiser. And against the 17th, this is to be arranged. The triangle over there at Scream and Mimi's, we need to get that cleaned up for the peace pole that we're bringing in. Dan sent me this information from the community service meeting. Go back again. September 24th, Ukrainian Family Fun Concert. We're getting into October, our big main lobster boil, Center for the Arts, looks like that's coming along really well. And of course, the celebration for Bruce Campbell. And then we have our district governor coming on the 18th. The 19th is the club visit for our district governor. Okay, attitude for gratitude. Do we have any grateful people here today? Okay, well, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for our club and for all of you being here. And I will make a donation to our Rotary Foundation. Thank you very much.
Hey, Diana. I just want to tell people that I got my new booster bivalent over at Safeway. They're the only place in the town that has them, and they had them starting a couple of days ago. And so you can go get it over there, sign up, go online to the Safeway pharmacy, and you can get your new shot.
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much.
We're having better problems here, so it may die on me. So as we learned, thank you, Michael, so much for that, helping us get that donation of the place in Sardinia. I talked last weekend about our live auction, and we also had this past week, a Lake Tahoe vacation rental. I don't know how long it's for yet, just have a look.
4 days.
4 days, from David Mark Raymond. We also did announce that Charlie has put together a coastal geology field trip with a geologist, and I'm not sure the spot they picked, but that's going to be a pretty fascinating trip for us, or whoever goes down. That should be a good item. We had so aware that at what looks like 14 live auction items. I'd like to get a couple of more solidified so we can have, some will do great, some will do okay. We want to have as many in there that are worthwhile having. So, well, if you have any ideas or think there's something that's germinating in there, please call one of us, Michael or I, and we can help see if we can work that out. We also are collecting wine. How many people have brought wine in? I'm gonna put my hand down. We're trying to get to like 70 bottles of wine, and we probably have 15 or 20 up there now. So everybody, please, 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 if you're not a wine drinker, Scott, you know a place where they sell wine? Safeway, of course you do, Safeway. A couple bottles of wine that we can put in to that collection, and it's usually $1,200 auction item for us. So it's important so if you can, 2-3 bottles of wine, bring them to the meeting so we know ahead of time of what we have. Kathy and Michael yesterday turned on the volunteer spot website for volunteers at this event. We need probably twice as many people as we have in the room on a good day, right, Kevin? Yes. So kind of plan on a couple of shifts. If you have friends who you think you can get to volunteer, it's okay to forward to them the volunteer site link so they can go on there and pick and choose stuff they want to do. And now's the time where we've got to go out. We used to put on a music festival that needed 400 volunteer spots filled. And we got those filled every year through ourselves, our friends, and the public. So please think of someone you can tag along and have them come and give us a hand with stuff. This will be pretty light duty mostly. Anything else on the auction, Michael?
Yeah, just ticket sales. Name of the game is we gotta get people in the front door. So everybody has tickets. Please get out and sell them and get your money.
How are we doing on that?
We're doing good. We've got about 8 or 9 tables that are pre-sold. So that's almost half our inventory. Our individual ticket sales are not doing so well. So we get out. This is an easy sell. All you gotta do is talk to people and tell them it's lobster.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
Oh,
I'm sorry, we have, I can't use this because every place in the matter. We have been trying to have a Rotary Club in Maine agree to have exchange with us. An auction item from them and an auction item from us. They sent it, you know how exchange works. Anyway, I think we made it work. Michael, thanks to your work. And Jennifer Starner, District Governor, kind of picked up the ball and contacted the district governors back there. The town is, it's on that thing I gave you, Bailey Island in Maine. It's a secluded island. It looks, it sounds beautiful. It's a fantastic house. Yeah, it's a tremendous house. So thanks to Maine and New Brunswick, the club in New Brunswick, Maine, and this Rotary Club, the Cumbria House, Jim is up there, I think. We have an exchange going on, and first, we've tried this before. I think this is going to be the first time it really worked. And the only way it really works, people in the room who want to go to Maine or Sardinia. So we should do something along the line of a thank you video to the guys in Maine and vice versa. But it is fantastic. It looks like it's going to be a great experience.
that's terrific news. Thank you. Okay, next week program, we have our own Rod McCauley. Looking forward to that. And this week, we get to see Thailand impressions from Michael Phils. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah.
If I move back, we're gonna see them.
I want to talk to. Okay, well, we tried this a few weeks ago, an abbreviated version of this program, and today I want to try to put it in context for you because it didn't make much sense last time. This was a 3-month trip that my partner, whose name is We, W-E-E, so if I say we, it might mean first person plural, or it might mean this human being. If I say we, you have to figure out what I'm talking about. So this was from the end of April until the end of July. To put it in context for you, so for most of my life, most of my working life, I was in education, higher education, primarily. But I also was at Fort Ross School out here on the coast for a number of years, where I was the principal and teacher and did all kinds of ancillary duties at that place. And I was on the Navajo Nation in Arizona, in Chinle, Arizona, where I taught also and worked as an administrator, and then in El Paso, Texas, for 11 years at the El Paso Community College, where I was a personal and a career counselor. And then finally, for the last main part of my career, was at California State University of Los Angeles, Cal State LA, where I was for 20 years. And I was the director of international programs there at Cal State LA. So I just want you to have that background, because that's a lot of what got me out and moving around as much as I do. When I decided that at age 63 it would be a good time to retire. That seemed like Social Security kicked in, and that had been enough. I had some really interesting jobs. I always loved my work, but that would be enough. And I thought, well, to prepare for that, what am I going to do? Because I wasn't just going to stop working. I had to have something else. So I took on some consulting work that I knew I could continue after I retired. And I also started studying playwriting at UCLA. And I did that for 2 years in advance of my retirement. And as a result of that course and things that happened subsequently, since I retired at age 63, I've written 6 books, published 6 books, and have a lot of plays in a lot of drawers. So it's, but it's good, it worked. I mean, for me, it was a great way to retire. And I tell you all this because this trip, well, there's one more important piece, and that is that in 2016, my wife of 48 years passed away, and many of you knew Louisa, and you never knew her when she was healthy and well, but you did know her. And on my, several years after that, on my second trip to Thailand, I'd been before, I met someone, he and I decided that we would try sharing our lives, and we've done that, and it's been a great opportunity for both of us. So this trip to Thailand sort of pulls together a lot of these threads. We inherited some money in 2020 and decided that one of the things he wanted to do was to build a farm. And this farm he wanted to build was outside of Chiang Mai. So now I can start this, and we'll see where we go. So this is Thailand, and those red circles indicate places that we were during the 3 months of the trip. You'll get more specific. You'll get, tap. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Living Dream Pheasant House, which is what it's called. It's 10 miles south, a kilometer south of central Chiang Mai, and Chiang Mai is right there. Chiang Mai is in the northern part of Thailand. If you look down to if you go down about halfway, you'll see where Bangkok is. If you go all the way down, you run into Malaysia. But Thailand is surrounded, as you can see, by other countries. So this is a lot of influence from Burma, where we were. And I know Michael has been up in that area, maybe some of the rest of you, but it's cooler and more elevated than many other parts of Thailand. So that's where most of the time we spent. And this is welcoming to the Living Dream Pheasant House. And the top line, which I can't read in Thai, but it says, welcome, I can read that. And beneath that is, the first line is the address. And then beneath that is the sign. So what we did largely was to set this farm up, and that's a lot of what we spent 3 months doing, including getting this sign made, which was an adventure. So this is the house that we built on the pheasant farm. This is taken from a gazebo, which is across from the house. The house is fascinating because it's called a knockdown house. And it doesn't mean that you should knock it down. It means that it came pre-built. So it was assembled in the eastern part of Thailand. It was fabricated in the eastern part of Thailand and brought to this rural location on the outskirts of Chiang Mai by truck in 2 huge pieces, scaring everybody who saw it. People would get out on the road in advance of this thing and wave at the drivers and beg them to stop, that they couldn't do it, they wouldn't possibly make it. They had young boys who would climb up on top of the truck and use bamboo poles to hold the electric wires up so that the house wouldn't get stuck as it went by. It was amazing. And the other really amazing thing about this is that the entire plan for this farm, including purchasing the land, was done from Sebastopol. And that to me was astonishing. So literally using Google Earth and other online tools, we was able to identify exactly where he wanted to go. And then he has a big family, he has 5 sisters, and 2 of them live in that area. So they would get out and scout the property that he identified and see whether it looked good. And if it didn't look exactly the way he wanted it, then they'd say, okay, we saw another place down the road that maybe that place would be better. So they would check that out and found this space. So this is the 2 buildings that were built, the house, which is upstairs. There are 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and downstairs there's a small living room, a kitchen, and a bedroom and another bathroom. And then the gazebo, and the gazebo is obviously off to the left, which is also 2-story. That was built on site. The purpose of this farm is for one of his sisters and her husband to live and manage it and gives them an income. And the produce from this farm is amazingly vast. They raise poultry, they raise peacocks, they raise pheasants, they raise guinea hens, they raise every kind of bird you can imagine practically. They have licenses to raise songbirds that are now protected by the government, and they do all of this there. They also raise rice, and they have a variety of vegetables and fruit that they raise and sell, as well as fish from the ponds that they have. So it's a totally self-sustained unit.
How big is the property?
The property is about 3 acres. So it's small, but it's really densely utilized. So this is one of the ponds. The ponds had to be built also. These were all done before we got there. The building behind that you're looking at is a utility building that was built by the previous owner, and it had housing in it for his workers. And so one of Wee's sisters adapted that for them, and she and her husband live there, and it's quite large actually. It extends way off the picture. And what you're looking at here in front of that building is a concrete walkway across the canal. And that was the bridge that was there across this walkway, separating the new house from this other part of the farm. So while we were there, we arranged for a new bridge to be built, because that thing was precarious and a little bit scary if you had a wheelbarrow or something trying to get across it. So guys came out, fabricated this new bridge on the site, and it's amazing to see the hard work that people do without a lot of tools, without a lot of education. And I mean, any of you who've traveled in the third world know that people are so enormously resourceful and confident. But I was reminded of that on this trip, watching this bridge get built. It was fantastic. So this is just a picture I liked of the kitchen of We Sisters' place, and it's pretty typical. Everything's outside because the weather is pretty much the same except when it's raining, but everything's covered. Cooking is done. You can see a wok and a pot next to it on a 2-burner stove. Nobody uses ovens. They don't have ovens. Everybody cooks on stovetops. Most of them with bottled gas, and you can see the bottled gas off to the right. And the food is unbelievably good. These are some of the pictures of plants that we planted while we were there. A lot of the time that we were there, we spent in the Chiang Mai flower market. And Chiang Mai is famous for flowers. And every spring has a flower festival in February, late February. And the flowers are unbelievable. So we and one of his sisters had a business in the flower market years ago where they sold plants, raised plants, sold plants, and did garden design. So we went back there very, very frequently and brought plants out. The prices in Thailand are a third, pretty much across the board of what they are here. So it's a great haven for people who are interested in retiring on a very low income. There are lots of people living on Social Security there, on American Social Security or Canadian or Australian, Europeans. You can live very well on very little. So we were able to buy a lot of plants. So on the left, you can see the beginning of what will become the first rice field. They hadn't raised rice. The farm was purchased 2 years ago, so this was the first time they're going to attempt to grow rice. And the area for the rice field was flooded, and you can see how rough and chopped up it is. And then on the other side is just another view from the rice field looking back at the backside of the house. So these are, 2 of these ladies are We Sisters, the 2 on the left. And, excuse me, and they're getting ready to plant. And you can see what they're planting are already started rice seedlings, and they're about that size. I don't know how they could look so happy. It was hot, 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 and mosquitoes, and they're very resilient people. So this is a picture of after it was planted and everything was in place. And this is later on. You can see what it looks like. I just fell in love with looking at the freshly grown rice fields. It's a color green that I've hardly ever seen anywhere, and it's just fabulous. Well, that was the usual get-up for going out and doing anything. Typical kind of, this was a typical meal. We Sisters did all the cooking while we were there, which was wonderful. Fish was caught right there. Crawdads, no, but everything else, the vegetables were grown there, and everything was made by hand on that little stove. This is one flock of geese and 2 ducks that seemed to think they were geese and stayed with them all the time. One of the pheasants. That's another one. Now that's a frog looking up at us from the pond. We had a lot of critters. We had zillions of frogs. We had termites that would come, flying termites that would come out at night and fly everywhere. Mosquitoes, of course, were abundant. There was an 8-foot python seen by a customer coming to buy birds. He said, "Oh, did you notice the python up in the tree?" And, well, we didn't see. I didn't see it. We didn't see it. But I'll tell you, this was sort of toward the beginning, and I never went outside at night again without being extremely careful, and we never saw it. And we think it went into into the canal and was swimming around and dining. So that was on one of our motor scooter journeys off the farm. Okay, so let's look around Chiang Mai a little bit. There it is again, just to remind you. So this is the house in Chiang Mai. The house in Chiang Mai is much more of a conventional house. There's a picture of the garden in front. We is nothing if not plant obsessed. So there are plants everywhere, and somebody who bought plants from us is when we had our driveway plant sales. I never thought I'd be this deep in plants, but they're everywhere. So this was a short walk from that city house, was one of the restaurants we liked, and everything, there were these delivery services everywhere. Everywhere. You saw these Shopee Foods, Grab, you can see the Grab driver. And this is just a little hole-in-the-wall place, and there were a constant stream of these people coming and going. The food was real good. This was a barber shop where I got my hair cut a couple of times. And one of the things to notice, and again, if you travel in the third world, this won't be a surprise, but it is, to me, a continuing revelation that electricity can flow through wires like this at all. It's unbelievable to see. My son works for AT&T in Los Angeles, so he's familiar with, with phone wiring and all of that. But how do I go back? How do I back up? Oh, the arrow? Got it. Thank you very much. So. But we had no power failures. It was just amazing, given that tangle, and that was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It was like that. But this is pretty much the scene on the street in a suburban part of Chiang Mai, which is where he was. This is we, and this bird fallen out of the nest when it was about 2 days old, and he took care of it. And now it was getting feathers and quite almost ready to fly, which it eventually did. One of the shopping centers near where we live in the city, food to go everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It's safe, it's delicious, and as you'll notice, there are no signs in English, so I was relatively mute. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't talk, I couldn't drive, I couldn't even sit down properly, actually. People sit on the floor. They don't think they consider collapsing on the floor a form of seating. So this was another of the local restaurants we like to go to. Again, everything open. And this was an interesting market. It was an organic food market, the first one in this area, outside, only 2 days a week. But this gives you a feeling of the kind of extensive vegetables, most of which are not sold in the United States and are delicious, but are not known to us. We eat a very limited variety of vegetables given what's available in the planet. And this is a huge variety, and Thai food is plant-based with fish and chicken and pork also, but the basis is plants. And you see a lot of Buddhist monks out and about. There's some controversy now over monks who are too fat. This one might qualify. They're supposed to live a rather ascetic life, and there's been a lot of debate now about monks working out too much and either getting too fat or too buff or something. So you can't please everybody, I guess. So motorbikes are the way to get around, and we did that a lot in the city. We rode motorbikes all the time. And this is a market, and typical of the markets there, and the kind of food that you can buy. You really, unless you're awfully adventurous, it really helps to have somebody who speaks the language to go shopping. Otherwise, I would be totally lost. This was the big Chiang Mai flower market. This is a little part of it. And it's acres and acres and acres and acres of individually owned enterprises. And this was a piece of furniture that we bought. They also were some place you could buy furniture and stuff in that area. And this little truck that you see was loaned to us by Wee's friends, and it was a lifesaver. We had it for 3 months. We were going to rent a car, but they said, no, take this, we're not using it. Absolutely tiny little Datsun, but we hauled stuff out every couple days to the farm. There we're buying bamboo and buying pillows for chairs. Well, this was one of the few sightseeing things we did. This was the Queen's Garden in Chiang Mai, and absolutely gorgeous. So informal gardens are fabulous. And you know, Thailand is a monarchy, supposedly constitutional monarchy. There are lots of issues with the government, and have been for a number of years, but more in the last 7 since the old king died. The son is not popular and spends most of his time in Germany. This is also at the Queen's Garden. And this picture is the draining the pool, one of the many pools, but you can see the absolutely gorgeous, the size of these lily pads, huge. And we ended up buying a car, and I'm showing you this picture because it's a cute picture, but I don't think Joe ever sold a car like this. You know, I don't remember, I bought 3 cars from Joe. I never got a bow or a giant thing or a picture or anything. So Joe, if you're watching, too bad you're retired. So the car had to be blessed, of course, and it was. We went to the local, one of the many temples. This was one that Wee's sister particularly liked, and had a monk bless the car. And it was great. It felt really good, and so far it's worked. This was a street picture that I really liked, and there were people everywhere taking selfies, but I just thought this was classic. This guy taking a selfie, but not a selfie, but a picture of his girlfriend. Anyway. So this is 2 of Wee's sisters, and this is at a dinner we went to. So then we'll go up to the north a bit. Let's see, we're gonna run out of time here. But that's the north. It's on the border, very close. It's Taton, on the border with Burma, very close to the border of Burma, and the immigrants coming across are very poor. And you know, Myanmar, Burma, has been in a state of crisis now for a very long time. And it's a very poor country, and Thailand is, for them, what the United States is for a lot of Mexico. So this is a house up there. It's a small house up in those hills near Burma. And it's rented out to a guy from Sacramento, but they have a small mango orchard there. You can see this huge temple that local people call the Disneyland Temple, and it really is amazing. When you go in, it's a mangoes covered by bags to keep them from getting burned by the sun. And then Krabi is way down in the south, almost to Malaysia. You can see Malaysia just beyond Krabi. People look a bit different. Some people, a lot more Malaysian people in that area. I'll go through this. It's a resort area, but it was cold and stormy when we were there, so we didn't do a whole lot. But we did get out on that kind of boat. But this is the kind of landscape of Krabi. This is an exposed cave where one side is collapsed, and so you walk along the edge of the cave. And you can see why we didn't do a whole lot in the ocean. But it was a beautiful place. Khon Kaen is the city where Wee's home village is, close to Wee's home village. And we went there for, the main reason for going was for him to reconnect with his hometown, which really is a village. And when he was a boy, it was about riding water buffalo in the evening after school. He and his friends would go out and get the water buffalo and bring them home. So it's a different world. The water buffalo are gone, but you still see a lot of the remnants of that kind of village life where you walk through and everyone knows everyone. So we flew there. It's an hour flight from Chiang Mai. And he has another sister, of course, there. And this is one of their rice fields there. I think we'll stop at the end of this picture, but this is this marker in front of you. If you look straight back, you see a row of trees. And if you were to attach a string from that post straight back, that would be the property line. The right side of the property belongs to Wee's sister. The left side belongs to what apparently is a very greedy neighbor, because the neighbor has been, you see how there's a curve that cut in the grass? The neighbor has been scooching over and over every year a little bit more until now his sister has lost all of the land between that straight line and the outside of that curve. So they're going to have to go to court and try to get this guy to give them back that property. Anyway, it's very strange. So this is how we got around in the village when we weren't walking. This is a little grandniece of Lee's, his sister. So my two new sort of sister-in-laws. So this was a blessing ceremony, mainly for we. And I thought it was a cute picture of the dog in there too. Everybody was pretty peaceful, yeah. And we has chronic kidney disease, and so a lot of and it's in his family. He's got a sister already to receive a kidney from another sister, and so we is right now in the process of we're working on getting a nephew to donate a kidney now and come to California to do it. But this was all a blessing for health. This is the largest oar fish ever caught, I guess. This was 1973. American soldiers pulled this oar fish out of the Mekong River. Another little ceremony we had, this lady on the left is a local elder and I guess a shaman. And there was a ceremony in this sister's house there. And so I came back loaded with ceremonial bracelets. And I guess they work because I'm still here. So thank you very much.
That was terrific. Thank you very much. And stay after for a few minutes for some questions. Yeah, I could listen to you forever. Hey, come on back. Got a cup for you.
I don't have to do what Brian did.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, here we go. All right, we have a drawing. Scott, are you ready?
All right, ready.
Yeah, we don't have very many tickets in here, so hopefully, and we're getting lower and lower on marbles, so somebody's liable to win. Oh, there's more tickets in there than I thought there'd be. Oh, okay.
What's much money though?
We need to start buying these tickets, guys. Nobody's doing it. $34.90.
Hey, that's me.
Hey.
What do you know?
Get richer.
We must choose.
I don't get to look. I want the red marble. Okay. I get the booby prize. Thank you. Okay, we'll see what happens next. Thank you very much, Scott. Here we go. Marnie, you have a joke for us.
And it's very short and it's impromptu. Meaning that over the weekend, I sent a text to a friend of mine, and I said, hey you, don't labor, hey you. Okay. Hey you, don't labor on Labor Day. His response was, males don't give birth.
Aw, cute. Okay, happy trails, and remember our basket, bring goodies, local goodies for our basket. Thank you. What?
When do you want us to start bringing local stuff for the basket?
I'll collect anytime.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, happy trails. Where's my bill? Oh.